Boy, that's nice and light and bright. Scared me there for a minute. I'm George Graves Jr. Welcome to Wednesday evening with the Peoria Municipal Band. This is the first one of our season. We're glad to be here. Glad you could join us. Whoever ordered the beautiful weather, pat yourself on the back because we see, beautiful evening for a concert. Well, Dr. Vroman has programmed some fine music tonight. I think that you will enjoy some show tunes, marches, a little bit of everything. Our vocalist is Miss Linden Huebner. She is with us this week. Looking forward to a fine concert, so please welcome Linden Huebner and Dr. David Vroman.
Please rise and stand if you are able and join in the singing of our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, good evening. The weather, I don't know why George brought up the weather. The weather's always like this when we have a concert. Not sure about that. Tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion on that particular day. So we do have some things that are set for you this evening. We're going to start with a John Williams march right after we remind everybody that's out by the railroad tracks that if you hear this sound, we just need you to move back by the car, okay? So you can leave your chairs where they are and just move back so that the train can come through, all right? John Williams, how many people have never heard of composer John Williams? No, everybody has. It's just like back in the day, John Philip Sousa as well. John Williams, though, is still going strong today. And this movie that he wrote this march for had an all-star cast, and he was inspired by that. So he had won his first Academy Award in 1974 for what movie? Jaws. And then after that, everything just Star Wars and everything goes crazy. But this is Midway March by John Williams, and it's arranged by James Curnow. We're going to change the pace of things just a little bit. Larry Dane is the composer of this next piece. He was born in 1939 in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Is there anybody here from Wisconsin tonight? Just checking. A couple people. And he grew up on his parents' farm near Rosendale, if you've been in that area before. Attended a one-room grade school, Rosendale High School. Then he got his bachelor's degree at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, his master's at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, and then had a 35-year teaching career. And he taught elementary school, middle school, and high school band, chorus, and classroom music. He taught, for example, the high school band, the New Glarus Wisconsin High School Band. You might have heard of New Glarus if you visited Wisconsin. But he directed that band for 27 years, and they were very, very well known. He wrote this next piece that's entitled With Quiet Courage in memory of his mother. And his mother had a long, difficult fight with diabetes, which finally claimed her life. And here's the poem that he puts on the front of the score for this piece. He said, her life was heroic, but without fanfare. She worked and hoped and inspired. She loved and was loved. Her life was a noble song of quiet courage. Quiet Courage by Larry Dane. Is there anybody here tonight from Iowa? You're from Iowa. Anybody in the band from Iowa? Good job, Mark. Just checking to make sure Mark knows where he is residing currently. This next march was written by Iowa's March King. His name was Carl King. And when he was 19 years of age, he ran away to join the circus. He really did that. Joined the circus world at a time when a lot of the acts that they had were in a great need of special music that would fit those acts, both in terms of tempo and mood and everything. And he was a master at writing music. So he quickly rose to some leadership positions in some great circus bands like Buffalo Bill and also Barnum and Bailey's. He contributed more circus marches to the band literature than any other composer. This particular march is entitled Hosts of Freedom, and it was penned in the year that he moved over to Fort Dodge, Iowa. Very simple kind of march, very effective, very straightforward, and it kind of follows something that he used throughout his career when he wrote marches for bands. Originally published in 1920, it's got a lot of the flavor of the Big Top, so enjoy Hosts of Freedom March by Carl King. Next question, is there anybody here from Illinois? Chicago, to be specific. Anybody from Chicago? Oh, made the trip. Good. And we're so glad that Linden Huebner joined us. Some of you would remember that it used to be Christ, but then she got married. And then somewhere out there is her son. I think he was asleep earlier. But we're glad she's come home this week to sing with the band. In the Chicago area, if you catch her singing up there, it's usually with a trio group that's called the Irving Sisters, and she has her own private voice and piano studio. Also, development officer for Classical Kids, and Classical Kids provides music for over 75,000 children around the world every year. So, Braden at 16 months, this is for you. Clap for Mom. Everybody else, please welcome Linden Huebner.
Thank you. This 1939 song was composed by Harlick and Arlen, and it's an Academy Award-winning song and a classic, and it needs no further introduction. Enjoy. I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't Thank you. Thank you. This next song is an aria by Giacomo Puccini from his 1918 one-act opera, Gianni Schicchi, which is actually based on a segment of Dante's Inferno. And Dante, if you don't know, was born and raised in Florence, Firenze, Italy. And this opera takes place in Florence. And you'll hear mention of the Ponte Vecchio, the bridge, and the River Arno, and the Porto Rosso. So all of these places in Florence that this takes place. Lauretta sings this aria to her dad, Babbo, and she is begging her father, please help me to marry the love of my life, Ranuccio, o mio babino caro.
Linden will be back in just a little bit. We're going to take you across the ocean and take you to 1917 in Russia. And in Russia at that time, composers had to write what had been approved by the state. If you didn't write what was approved by the state, your family could go away, you could go away. It was not a really very friendly time. Chesnikov was a Russian composer that was very gifted in choral works, and he wrote this particular chorale that you're about to hear, but it was never performed during his lifetime. It wasn't until after the revolution and he had passed away, his family heard the chorale for the first time. And it kind of became a symbol for the Russian Orthodox Church after what was a very terrible time in their history. And so it's a brilliant arrangement by an Illinois native, and the title is simply Salvation is Created, Russian composer Chesnikov. So keep that tune in mind. And sometimes we talk about how music can be quite repetitive, but inspiration for music can come from all sorts of different places. One of the contemporary band composers and arrangers of our era was Robert W. Smith, who unfortunately passed away this past year. But Robert W. Smith loved that chorale, and he decided what he would do would be to set that chorale more in his style. So while you'll hear that chorale, you're also going to hear some very different sounds that are there. Robert W. Smith had been born in 1958, so when he passed away this year, he wasn't quite that old. He had 600 pieces of music in print. A lot of that through a long association with Warner Brothers Music as well as the Bellwin catalog. He's written many pieces that have been performed worldwide, and many of those by the really elite military bands that we have in Washington, D.C. He just did a production of a Symphony No. 3. Don Quixote was one of the things that he did. And then he also was very big into music education because he was tied to how important music was as part of the school day. And he worked with others to develop a music curriculum that encompassed kindergarten all the way through senior and high school. So he contributed a great deal before we lost him. But he's going to take that Chesnikoff hymn, that beautiful hymn, and then set it in his own unique style. So this is Robert W. Smith's Salvation. The next composer is Eric Osterling, and he is an American composer, arranger, educator. Began his career at the age of 14 playing with dance bands and arranging music for them as well. And then he ended up, after school and everything, to be the director out in Connecticut of the Portland Public Schools for 34 years. And he had very, very fine high school bands out there. This is a march that he called his Nutmegger March, and it was written in 1954. Now, how many people know why it was called the Nutmegger March? Eric has his hand up, but Eric, I'm not going to have you answer that. Instead, I'll ask your wife, Angela, to come explain it to everybody briefly.
I like how you added briefly in there. Thanks for that. Anyone here from Connecticut tonight? I don't see any hands. That's too bad. Connecticut is also known as the Nutmegger State because they were known as, earlier on, people who could get provisions during colonial times. And so some of the people that settled there were sometimes a little bit like a swindler. And so they would actually make nutmeg that came from the East Indian Islands all the way across. They would make them out of wood and then hide some of those in the barrels with nutmeg as well. So being a nutmegger could be a really positive thing or maybe not so much.
How about a special round of applause for Angela? Now, the reason Angela got to present that to you is because in the middle of rehearsal, she was on her phone looking it up. Because I asked her, I said, you know what a nutmegger is? And she said, well, you do, don't you? And I said, don't you? And next thing you know, after we were done playing the march, she knew. So that's why she had that introduction. It was great. This is Eric Osterling's The Nutmegger March. want to remind you about Sunday night. So if you enjoy Linden singing this evening, you're invited to Glen Oak Park on Sunday night at 7. And as we already pointed out, whenever we have a concert, the weather is always perfect, just like tonight. So without further ado, let's bring back our vocalist for the week, Linden Huebner.
This is our Sound of Music medley. So you'll hear all the best of Sound of Music. The Sound of Music is actually based off of the true story and lives of Maria von Trapp. And in 1949, she wrote the book, The Trapp Family Singers. And they were a true touring family that toured all over Europe and then in America as well. And this... after she wrote her book in 1949, 10 years later, they turned her story into the musical Sound of Music.
Like the wings of the birds that rise from the lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones in its way, to sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more. High on a hill was a lonely goat, lady-yada, lady-yada, lady-hoo. Loud was the voice of the lonely goat, lady-yada, lady-yada, loo. Folks in a town that was quite remote, lady-yada, lady-yada, lady-hoo. Loud was the voice of the lonely goat, lady-yada, lady-yada, loo. Oh, ho, lady-yada, lee, oh, ho, lady-yada, lee. Oh, ho, lady-yada, lee, oh, lady-yada, lee, oh, lee. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu, 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 to you and you and you. So long, farewell, Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. I'd like to stay and taste my first champagne. Yes? Doe, a deer, a female deer. Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself. Far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle piling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, do. Edelweiss, every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright. You look happy to meet me. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow, bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever. How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? How do you find a word that means Maria? A flippity gibbet, a wit of a wisp, a clown. Oh, many a thing you know you'd like to tell her. Many a thing she ought to understand. But how do you make her stay and listen to all you say? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand? Climb every mountain, search high and low, follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give every day of your life for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow till
It's time for our restaurant giveaway. Please welcome Don Baker. Don?
Go from the sound of music to the sound of food. And we also want to thank tonight Pat Sullivan and the City of Peoria for making this venue possible. So if you please give them a nice round of applause, appreciate it. Pat has a few changes, as you notice here. Rather than all the grilling outside and everything else, they have a much expanded menu. You can order either inside or where you did outside, and they will have runners that will bring your food to you. Also, no food or drink is allowed from the outside in here, obviously. So, and if you come here at 5:45 to 6:20, there will be a special drawing for those who order early. I already have a $25 gift certificate for Kelleher's to give away next week to somebody who orders early and then gets a gift certificate. So please do. So we have Raybers that we're giving away tonight. I can't guarantee you that there'll be any nutmeg on your what you order, but Bill Harlan, you're the winner. We'll meet you at the back table. Thank you, and let's have a big hand back to the Peoria Municipal Band.
Thank you, Don. So we mentioned that tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and 5 years ago, obviously, was the 75th. And the 75th had a wind band that actually played on a concert on Omaha Beach. And it was conducted by a gentleman named Colonel Arnold Gabriel, who in the band business, he is a legend. And so it was a wind band that performed over there. And this is one of the numbers that they did. It's music of Irving Berlin. There are 6 different tunes. If we played all the ones that some of you would recognize, we'd be here forever. But here are the 6 that they included in this particular medley. There's No Business Like Show Business, 1946, Annie, Get Your Gun. Say It With Music, that was done in 1921. Alexander's Ragtime Band, 1911, Easter Parade, 1917, and 1942, he wrote some music for somebody named Fred Astaire and a Bing Crosby film that was called Holiday Inn, so that was White Christmas. And you'll recognize all of these, I believe. Irving Berlin, a symphonic portrait arranged for band by Holly Ates. Well, we are certainly grateful for you coming out and enjoying this time with us together. And want to remind you, Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Glen Oak Park, another chance to hear Linden sing. Give her another round of applause, would you please? Want to echo what Don Baker said earlier. Thanks, Pat, and to all his staff down here. It's a lot of work to do this. Spread the word that our season has begun. Some of you are familiar faces even from this past Sunday night at Glen Oak Park. But tell your neighbors, tell all your friends about what's going on down here. You can bring lawn chairs and sit out here in the grass along with the new railroad ties. I noticed that. Yeah. So we might put you to work replacing those out there or inside here, but spread the word and let folks know that our season has begun. And there are flyers back there that you can pick up and take and share with other people as well. Several people we want to thank. We want to thank Mr. Todd Pilon for making us sound good. Give him a round of applause. He's our sound guy. And then in the band, there's a bunch of people that make this go. Everybody contributes, obviously. George Graves Jr., our band manager, give him a round of applause. Laurel Filson Etzel, our assistant conductor. Kristen Sheets is our librarian. And there's three people that do some publicity. Liz Driscoll for us, Mara Shepard, and Frank Gutierrez in the back. Give them a big round of applause. But of course, this would not happen without you, so we are grateful that you as an audience came out tonight, and we hope you'll support us throughout the summer. We close as we always do, giving you a few moments to reflect on what a great country it is in which we live. This is America the Beautiful.